It feels like the Notre Dame football season just started, but if you can believe it, we already halfway through the season with Notre Dame at 5-1 and 6 games remaining. So we're going to do a little bit of a mid-season superlative video here. And folks, please hit the thumbs up on it and subscribe to our channel for more content. Tim, let's just go straight away to your team MVP. Surprise, surprise. You're going with Sam Hartman. Tell us why.
Well, yeah, I'm going with Sam Hartman. I mean, just before we get into him, look at a few of the other, obviously tremendous first halves, which is odd to say. We got 2 games before a bye. But you got, obviously, Audric Estime leads the country in rushing yards. He's the #1 running back on Pro Football Focus. Mitch Evans has just been a stud this season, the way he's blocked and his receiving. Obviously, Joe Alt having as I said, he's going to win the Outland Trophy. He better win the Outland Trophy. But, Mike, you look at this season, 12-game season, you look at 6 games been played. We're at the halfway point. Sam Hartman's the football team. Sam Hartman is the MVP. And the stats show it, 14 touchdowns, no interceptions. He's had 4 2-minute drives this year, all led to touchdowns. Obviously, the last one we saw is the miracle in Durham. Whatever the buzzword's going to be in the history books, to take those guys 95, 96, 97 yards, whatever the official tally is after the false start to start it, the 4th down scramble. I'm telling you, man, that is going to be remembered for all time. It is. That is one of the iconic football plays, I believe, in Notre Dame history. When you see a quarterback scramble like that. He's having a heck of a season. He's on pace, believe it or not. He's on pace to break Jimmy Clausen's 2009 quarterback rating, passing efficiency record that Jimmy set in 2009. So that's the type of season Sam Hartman is having for this Notre Dame football team. So without him, where would they be? Who knows? With them, Mike, they're an inch away from beating Ohio State and an inch away from losing the Duke. So they're 5-1, and I think Notre Dame fans out there are very, very pleased with the performance of Sam Hartman this season.
Okay, offensive MVP, it is one of those guys. If you're giving Hartman, we're not going to have Hartman be team MVP and offensive MVP. Yes. So your offensive MVP is my boy Joe Alt.
I'm telling you, Mike, he's unbelievable. I mean, I break down the O-line every single week, get into what they're doing, what the schemes are doing with Coach Parker, Coach Rudolph, and the run game and whatnot. Joe Alt is amazing. He's up there with Zach Martin when you're looking at left tackles, I think, in Notre Dame history. I think at the end of this year, he's got to be mentioned at possibly, on the Mount Rushmore of Notre Dame left tackles. He is that good. He is playing unbelievable. His fundamentals are better than they were last year, and he was a first-team All-American. Better than they were 2 years ago, and he was the freshman All-American. I truly believe he is, Pro Football Focus has him the #1 offensive tackle on all of the Power 5. He is playing outstanding football. He's obviously being a leader, the things that we're hearing about him and you're seeing on the field, but his blocking. I mean, his pass protection is outstanding. There were times against, especially the last couple of weeks, he's gone against tremendous defensive ends. Duke and Ohio State are in the top 10 in like every defensive category, and no one's even getting a pressure on him. So he's been a joy to watch, and I can't wait for him to finish this season and hear his name next April, because he is one heck of a football player.
Yeah, and probably in the first 10 picks, you would imagine, of the NFL draft. Your defensive MVP, Tim, is a guy who just racked up 13 tackles as a defensive lineman in a single game, which is unheard of.
I mean, Howard Cross, it's not even just the one game. Through 6 games, he leads the team in tackles. The last defensive lineman to do that, I believe Trevor Laws, during maybe 07. I have to look at that. I didn't look that up. I should have. Melvin Dansby led the team in tackles his senior year as a defensive lineman back in the Bob Davie years. So it's been a while. I don't know if it'll end there, but through 6 games, unbelievable football player. He's been a constant, steady performer the last 3 years for Notre Dame, and one heck of a 5th-year senior leader out there, and just a dominant guy you really don't hear much about. And then all of a sudden, you see the stats. You knew he obviously played a good game against Duke, and then the numbers just pop out at you. The game-winning sack, strip fumble to win it. It's like hitting a 3-run home run in the bottom of the 9th. And kudos to Howard Cross, but he's playing great. Benjamin Morrison, Cam Hart have been, those are in that next year, I would say, for defensive MVPs.
Yep, love that. Tim, your biggest surprise is next. And we definitely wanted to go an optimistic route here because we do unfortunately have a biggest disappointment superlative. We can't just be all sunshine and rainbows here. Tim, you sent me two guys. I'm gonna allow it because Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler. That's your two guards for this team.
Well, they're one and the same.
Yeah.
It's like you talk about Great House and Flores. They're one and the same with the freshman wide receivers. Talk about the fifth-year seniors. They're all lumped together at linebacker, the fifth-year senior linebackers. So when you talk about Coogan and Spindler, they're the same. You got two guys coming from the same class, two guys that were just basically buried on the depth chart, played a little bit of PATs here and there, got a little bit of reps once in a blue moon, came into training camp. Obviously, after spring, you didn't really hear about them because it was about the other guys coming to training camp. And all of a sudden, that practice 5, practice 6, you're like, Rocco, Pat Coogan. And they have just been steady eddies. I mean, they've played every snap with the starting offensive line all season. That group of 5 have been together. And the reason why I went with them over some other guys, and there's some tremendous surprises in this first half of the season, is Notre Dame. You would think they would be, with two young guys who haven't played. They're playing some outstanding defenses. Ohio State, Duke, I mentioned, NC State's in the top 20 in multiple defensive categories, NFL linemen. And Notre Dame is in the top 10 in the country, giving up the fewest tackles for losses and sacks. They've only given up 6 sacks in 6 games. That's tremendous when you look at the brand new football players. Because remember, they had to replace Patterson and Lugg. Guys that played 10 years, they each played 5 years of football together out there, the experience. And Patterson's having an all-rookie campaign center for the Texans. So these two guys have been awesome together, and they've been fun to break down and watch as well.
Okay. I don't like singling someone out as a negative. So just bear with us, okay? For us to say someone is the biggest disappointment, that means that we had really high expectations for them. And we know that moving forward, this player can be really good because his talent is immense. But when you look at a wide receiver, Tim, who has played the most snaps at the position with 243, according to Pro Football Focus, and in 6 games has 7 receptions for 147 yards and 1 touchdown. And that is what I think 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7th in receiving in terms of receptions, and I think 4th in yardage. And most of this young man's yards are on that 1 touchdown reception against Central Michigan. I think half of his, or a little less than half of his yards or so on 1 reception. Tobias Merriweather, I mean, listen, that's just the facts of the situation. He's an immense talent, Tim. We know it. He's one of the fastest guys on this team, but he's just not lived up to the billing yet. And if he does, though, Tim, the second half of the season offensively is going to be really good for Notre Dame if he taps into some of that potential we know he has.
Well, that's what I'm hoping for. I'm hoping that we hear his constant development. Like you're saying, he leads the entire group in snaps. So it's not like the coaches don't trust him.
Right.
Coaches are not benching him. Our coaches are constantly going at him. They are targeting him. They're setting up play actions for him to go deep. They've done that in the games this year. So they are scheming to get the ball to Tobias Merriweather. The light's going to click on. Obviously, everyone in Notre Dame Nation, every Notre Dame fan believes it. We can't wait to see it. We are excited to see it. It needs to happen because the wide receivers still they need him. And we've talked about this all season long. He's right there. He's got a heck of a quarterback to deliver him the ball. Just it's going to click. He's got a heck of a wide receiver coach, a guy who played at the highest level, a guy who played in the NFL, who's teaching him. And it's just like when it clicks, Mike, you said it perfectly. It's like, boom, sky's the limit for this guy. So I'm excited for him because you see how close it is. And it just takes sometimes one play. And once he gets that one play, let's just see where it falls. But I'm excited for Tobias this second half of the season. Big games are ahead for him. So, Notre Dame's not giving up on him whatsoever.
Yep. So the crack staff tells me 147 receiving yards and 75 of those are on one play. So his other reception, 72 yards. So, yeah, Tobias Merriweather hoping for big things for his second half of the season. So that's going to do our mid-season superlatives again. Hartman MVP, Joe Wall offensive MVP, defensive MVP Howard Cross. You got Pat Coogan and Rocco Spindler as the biggest surprises, and so far the biggest disappointment of the season. I think it's got to be Tobias Merriweather. But again, to be a disappointment, you got to be someone that you have high expectations for because you know he's a really good talent. So hoping that he can turn this thing around the last 6 games of the season. All right, please hit that thumbs up on this video, folks. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. And as always, we will catch you next time.